George Floyd, Daunte Wright, Andrew Brown, Lindani Miani. These men are only 4 in a long list of people of African descent killed by police in America in the past year alone. But the pattern of police killing black people has an even longer history. The killings and worldwide protests have prompted an international commission of inquiry, which found that the U.S. committed violations of international law and possible crimes against humanity.
So when a police officer stops a white Caucasian person in America, their behavior and their treatment of the majority whites is totally different from African Americans. They do not use their arms against white people in the way they use it against black people. And that is why it is a crime against humanity.
But Samuels is among 12 international commissioners who examined 44 cases of black people killed or maimed by police, including Eric Garner from a police chokehold, Michael Brown, whose death galvanized the Black Lives Matter movement, and Freddie Gray, who died from injuries sustained in a police van. The commissioners want the International Criminal Court to investigate the U.S. for crimes against humanity, including for murder, torture, and persecution. And some civil rights activists say it's about time.
The U.S. has presented itself as the police and even the human rights upholder of the world. And, you know, since the U.S. first popped on the international stage as this sort of city on the hill or exemplar for the way to treat people, they have constantly been in violation of human rights.
Putting America's treatment of black people under the international human rights spotlight isn't unprecedented. While the violations outlined in this nearly 200-page report are staggering, this is not the first attempt to hold the U.S. accountable under international law. A previous attempt to get the UN Human Rights Council to investigate crimes against people of African descent in the U.S. was curtailed under immense pressure from the Trump administration. Activists hope this commission of inquiry will exert international pressure to hold the U.S. accountable in a way that the UN couldn't.
One of the reasons why it hasn't happened is, I think, the United States being accountable for its harm domestically would also open up the United States to being accountable for its harm globally.
Their hope now lies in the Biden administration, which is pushing a new law targeting police misconduct, excessive use of force, and racial bias and profiling. It's known as the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act.
And that legislation will abolish chokeholds in restraining persons, and it will govern accountability, and it will govern how and when lethal force is to be used.
U.S. states have also passed more than 140 new laws to reform police forces, according to a New York Times analysis. But activists say legislation can only go so far to fix America's deep-rooted racism. Li Ling Tan, CGTN, New York.